Jake Morrison felt sick to his stomach as he walked through Kepler Station. The smell of unwashed bodies and fear filled the air. Dirty metal walls surrounded him on all sides. Strange alien voices spoke in languages he did not know. This place was far from any law or justice. He wore expensive clothes and tried to look like a rich trader. But inside, he was a human military captain on a secret mission. His job was to learn about the slave trade that was hurting human colonies. He had to pretend to be someone he was not. The station was huge and filled with all kinds of alien beings. Most of them looked at humans like they were nothing special. Some even laughed when they saw Jake. Humans were new to space travel compared to other races. Many aliens thought humans were weak and stupid. Jake walked deeper into the station. He passed shops selling weapons, drugs, and other illegal things. Guards with big guns stood at every corner. Most of them were not human. They were tall, scary aliens with sharp teeth and cold eyes. Finally, Jake reached the slave market. His heart felt heavy as he saw the cages. Inside the metal bars were beings from many different worlds. Some looked almost human. Others were very strange with extra arms or different colored skin. All of them looked sad and afraid. A big alien walked up to Jake. This creature had gray skin like a rock and was twice as tall as any human. His name was Grex, and he was a Korthik. They Korthik were known for being mean and caring only about money. "Welcome, human," Grex said in broken English. His voice was deep and rough. "You want to buy slaves? I have the best ones in all the galaxy." Jake nodded and tried to smile. "Yes, I am looking for something special, something rare for my home." Grex laughed. It was not a nice sound. "Ah, humans always want rare things. Come, I show you my best stock." It walked past many cages. Jake saw beings from worlds he had only heard about in stories. They were tall, thin aliens with silver skin. They were short, furry creatures that looked like they should be pets, not slaves. Each cage made Jake more angry, but he could not. "Show it." Then Jake saw her. In a small cage at the end of the row sat a young alien girl. Her skin was light blue and seemed to glow softly in the dim light. Her hair was white like snow and came down to her shoulders. But it was her eyes that made Jake stop walking. They were bright purple and filled with fear. She was small and looked very young, maybe the same age as a human teenager. Her clothes were torn and dirty. She had a metal collar around her neck that probably gave her pain if she tried to run away. "Ah, you have good eyes," Grex said when he saw Jake looking at the girl. "That is a Velothi. Very rare, very special." Jake had heard of the Velothi before. They were a peaceful people who lived on quiet farm worlds. They had special powers that let them feel what others were feeling. This made them good at healing hurt minds and hearts. But it also made them targets for bad people. "What makes her so special?" Jake asked, trying to sound like he did not care much. Grex moved closer to the cage. The blue girl moved back as far as she could go. Velothi can feel emotions. They can sense pain and fear better than anyone. Some buyers like to use this for ... special purposes. Jake's hands turned into fists, but he kept them at his sides. He knew what Grex meant. Some sick people bought Velothi to hurt them because the aliens could feel pain so strongly. The thought made Jake want to punch Grex in his ugly face. The girl looked up at Jake with those purple eyes. He could see she was trying to be brave, but she was terrified. When their eyes met, she started to shake. Jake realized she could probably feel his emotions, but she was reading them wrong. She thought he wanted to hurt her, like all the others. "How much?" Jake asked, trying to keep his voice calm. "She is expensive," Grex said. 50,000 credits. That was a lot of money, more than Jake made in 2 years as a captain. But he had access to special military funds for his mission. "I will pay it," he said. Grex looked surprised. Most buyers tried to bargain for a lower price. "You are sure? You have not even seen what she can do." "I am sure," Jake said quickly. He did not want to see Grex hurt the girl to show off her powers. Other aliens had started to watch them. Jake heard them whispering in their strange languages. He caught some words he knew. They were talking about the savage human and what terrible things he would do to the poor Velothi girl. Some of them sounded excited about it. Grex opened the cage and pulled the girl out by her arm. She was so scared she could barely walk. Her legs shook with each step. Jake wanted to tell her everything would be okay, but he could not break his cover yet. "The collar stays on until you are off the station," Grex said as he handed Jake a small remote control. "This controls the pain level. Press the red button if she tries to run." Jake took the remote, but planned to throw it away as soon as possible. "I understand." Money changed hands through electronic transfer. Grex smiled his mean smile as the credits appeared in his account. The girl was now Jake's property according to galactic law. The thought made him feel sick. "Enjoy your new pet, human," Grex said with a laugh. "Velothi are very sensitive. They break easily if you are not careful." Jake nodded and took the girl's arm gently. She flinched at his touch and made a small, crying sound. To everyone watching, it looked like Jake was leading his new slave away. But Jake was really beginning a rescue mission. As they walked toward his ship, Jake could feel the eyes of other aliens on them. Some looked jealous. Others looked disgusted. All of them thought they knew what would happen next. They thought the human would take the innocent Velothi girl away and hurt her for his own sick pleasure. They were all wrong. But Jake could not tell them that. Not yet. First, he had to get the girl to safety. Then he could worry about everything else. The girl stumbled as they walked, still shaking with fear. Jake wanted to comfort her, but he knew she would not believe him yet. She had probably been hurt by so many different aliens that she did not trust anyone anymore. Soon they would reach his ship. Soon he could show her that not all beings in the galaxy were monsters. Soon he could prove that humans were different from what everyone believed. But for now, Jake had to keep walking and pretend to be something he was not. Jake's ship was called the Starfire. It was not the biggest ship in the docking bay, but it was fast and strong. Jake had chosen it because it could get away from trouble quickly. Right now, that seemed like a very good idea. The blue girl walked beside him with small, scared steps. Her purple eyes looked at everything around them like she expected someone to jump out and hurt her. The metal collar around her neck made soft, beeping sounds. Jake hated that sound. It reminded him that she was still a slave until he could get it off. Other aliens watched them as they walked to the ship. A group of tall, green creatures pointed at them and laughed. They spoke in clicking sounds that Jake did not understand, but he could guess what they were saying. They thought he was just another cruel being who bought slaves for bad reasons. "Almost there," Jake said quietly to the girl. She looked up at him with fear and confusion. She could probably feel that he was not as mean as he was pretending to be, but she did not understand why they reached the Starfire. Jake put his hand on a scanner, and the door opened with a soft sound. The inside of the ship was clean and bright. It looked nothing like the dirty, dark station they had just left. Jake led the girl inside, and the door closed behind them. They were alone now. The girl stood very still in the middle of the room, like she was waiting for something terrible to happen. Jake walked to a cabinet and took out a small tool. The girl saw it and fell to her knees. She started to cry and shake even more. She thought he was going to hurt her with it. "No, no," Jake said, putting the tool down quickly. I am not going to hurt you. I promise. But she did not believe him. She had heard promises before, and they had all been lies. She curled up on the floor and covered her head with her arms. Jake felt terrible. He sat down on the floor across from her, far enough away that she would not feel trapped. Listen to me, he said in a soft voice. I know you do not trust me. I know you think I am going to hurt you, but I am not like the others. The girl peeked at him from between her arms. Her purple eyes were full of tears. My name is Jake, he said. I am a human from Earth. I did not buy you to hurt you. I bought you to save you. She said something in a language he did not know. Her voice was like music, even when she was scared. I do not speak your language, Jake said. But maybe you understand some of mine? The girl nodded just a little. Many slaves had to learn different languages to understand their owners. Jake pointed to the tool he had put down. That is to remove your collar, not to hurt you, to free you. She looked at the tool, then back at Jake. She was trying to decide if he was telling the truth. Her special powers let her feel his emotions, but she had been hurt so many times that she did not trust what she was sensing. Jake slowly picked up the tool again. The girl tensed up, ready to run. I am going to remove the collar now, he said. It might feel strange, but it will not hurt, I promise. He moved very slowly toward her. She did not run, but she shook like a leaf in the wind. Jake carefully put the tool against the collar. There was a small clicking sound, and the collar fell off. The girl touched her neck, where the collar had been. For the first time since Jake met her, she looked surprised instead of just scared. You are free, Jake said. No more collar, no more pain. The girl stared at him. She could not believe what had just happened. No one had ever taken a collar off a slave before. They only put them on. Jake stood up and walked to another cabinet. He took out some food and a bottle of water. He also grabbed some clean clothes. When he turned around, the girl was still sitting on the floor, touching her neck. You must be hungry, Jake said, putting the food on a small table. And you need clean clothes. The girl looked at the food, but did not move toward it. She thought, it might be a trap. Maybe Jake would hurt her if she took it without permission. It is okay, Jake said. The food is for you. Take it. Still, she did not move. Jake realized she was too scared to trust anything good that happened to her. Jake sat down and took a piece of bread from the table. He ate it to show her it was safe. Then he pushed the rest of the food toward her. Please eat, he said. You are too thin. Very slowly, the girl reached for a piece of fruit. She ate it quickly, like someone might take it away from her. Then she ate more. She was very hungry. While she ate, Jake started his ship's engines. They needed to get away from Kepler Station before Grex or anyone else figured out what was really happening. We are leaving now, Jake told the girl. Going somewhere safe. She looked up from her food with worry in her purple eyes. She did not know where Jake was taking her. For all she knew, he was bringing her somewhere even worse. Jake sat down across from her again. I need to tell you something important, he said. I am not really a slave buyer. I am a soldier, a captain in the human military. I came to that station to learn about the slave trade so we can stop it. The girl tilted her head, like she was trying to understand. I know you have heard bad things about humans, Jake continued. Other aliens probably told you we are cruel and violent. Some of us are, just like some of every species are bad. But many of us believe that slavery is wrong. We want to help stop it. The girl finished eating and just looked at him. She was still scared, but not as much as before. Jake's emotions felt different from any other being she had met. He felt kind. What is your name? Jake asked Dot the girl was quiet for a long moment. Then she spoke in her musical voice. Zara. Zara, Jake repeated. That is a beautiful name. I am glad to meet you, Zara. For the first time, Jake saw something that was almost a smile on her face. It was very small, but it was there. Jake stood up again and pointed to a door. There is a shower in there and a bed. The clothes on the table are for you. They might be too big, but they are clean. Zara looked at the door, then back at Jake. She was still not sure this was real. You can lock the door from the inside. Jake said, I cannot get in unless you let me in. You are safe. Zara picked up the clothes and walked slowly to the door. She paused and looked back at Jake one more time. He just smiled at her and nodded. She went into the room and Jake heard the lock click. Good. She was starting to understand that she really was safe. Jake sat down at his ship's controls and set course for human space. It would take several days to get there. He hoped that would be enough time for Zara to start trusting him. Behind him, he heard the shower running. It was probably the first real shower Zara had been able to take in a very long time. He was glad she could finally clean herself properly. Jake looked at the collar he had removed from her neck. It was a cruel device designed to cause pain and control. He threw it in the garbage where it belonged. His communication system beeped. There was a message from the station. Jake read it and frowned. It was from Grex, asking if the merchandise was satisfactory. Jake deleted the message without answering. Soon, other messages would come. When people realized that Jake was not what he seemed, they would be angry. They would try to follow him and take Zara back. But Jake would not let that happen. He had made a promise to save her, and he always kept his promises. The shower stopped running, and after a while, the door opened. Zara came out wearing the clean clothes Jake had given her. They were too big, but she looked much better. Her blue skin seemed to glow more brightly when it was clean. She sat down in a chair across from Jake, still keeping some distance between them. But she was not shaking anymore, and her purple eyes looked more curious than afraid. Thank you, she said in careful English. Her voice was so quiet, Jake almost did not hear her. You do not need to thank me, Jake said. Everyone deserves to be free. Zara nodded slowly. She was beginning to believe that maybe, just maybe, she had finally found someone who would not hurt her. For the first time in years, she felt something she had almost forgotten. She felt hope. 3 days passed as the Starfire traveled through space toward human territory. Jake was surprised by how quickly Zara was learning to trust him. She no longer jumped when he walked into a room. She even started to eat meals with him instead of hiding in her room. Zara was smart and picked up English words fast. She already knew some from her time as a slave, but now she was learning more. Jake was patient when she could not find the right words. He would wait for her to explain things in her own way. On the 4th morning, Jake found Zara looking out the window at the stars. She had been doing this a lot. He wondered what she was thinking about. Do you miss your home? Jake asked, sitting down beside her. Zara was quiet for a long time. Then she nodded. Very much, she said, but home is gone now. What happened? Jake asked gently. He did not want to push her, but he thought talking might help her feel better. Zara's purple eyes filled with tears. Bad people came to my world. They had big ships and many weapons. We had no weapons. We only had farms and families. Jake felt angry. The Villafay were peaceful people who never hurt anyone. They did not deserve what happened to them. My family tried to hide, Zara continued, but the bad people found us. They killed my parents and my little brother. They took me and other young people to sell as slaves. I am sorry, Jake said. He meant it. No one should have to go through that. Zara wiped her eyes. I was sold many times. Each new owner was worse than the last. They all wanted to use my powers to hurt others or to hurt me. Jake did not understand. What powers? Zara looked at him with surprise. You do not know? I thought that was why you bought me. I bought you to save you, Jake said. I do not care about any special powers. Zara studied his face. With her abilities, she could tell he was telling the truth. I can feel what others feel, she said. Pain, sadness, anger, happiness. I can feel it all like it was my own. Jake thought about this. That must be very hard. Feeling everyone's pain all the time. Yes, Zara said. Especially in places like that station. So much pain and fear everywhere. It never stops. Can you feel what I am feeling right now? Jake asked. Zara nodded. You feel ... sad for me. And angry at the people who hurt me. But also something else. Something warm and good. What is that? Jake asked. I do not know the word in your language, Zara said. It is like when a parent protects their child. Or when friends help each other. Jake smiled. I think the word you want is caring. I care about what happens to you. Caring, Zara repeated. Yes, that is it. I have not felt that emotion from anyone in a long time. Jake was quiet for a moment. Then he said, Can you do anything else? Besides feeling? Emotions? Zara hesitated. Yes, but I do not like to talk about it. My other powers were used to hurt people. I promise I will never ask you to hurt anyone, Jake said. I just want to understand. Zara looked at him for a long time. Finally, she spoke. I can take away emotional pain. When someone is very sad or scared, I can help them feel better. But I can also do the opposite. I can make someone feel terrible pain without touching them. Jake felt a chill. He could see why bad people would want to use Zara for torture. Have you ever had to hurt someone? Tears ran down Zara's blue cheeks. Yes, my owners made me. If I did not do what they wanted, they would hurt me until I could not think straight. I am not proud of what I did. Jake reached out slowly and put his hand on her shoulder. She did not pull away. It was not your fault, he said. You were forced to do those things. That does not make you a bad person. Zara looked surprised. But I hurt innocent people. You were trying to survive, Jake said. Anyone would have done the same thing. The bad people are the ones who forced you to do it. For the first time since Jake had met her, Zara really smiled. It was like the sun coming out from behind clouds. You really believe that? I do, Jake said. You are a good person, Zara. Do not let anyone tell you different. Zara wiped her eyes again, but this time she was crying because she was happy. Thank you, Jake. No one has ever said that to me before. Jake smiled back at her. Well, it is true. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the stars. Then Zara asked, What will happen to me when we reach your world? Jake had been thinking about this question for days. That is up to you, he said. You are free now. You can do whatever you want. I do not know what I want, Zara said. I have been a slave for so long, I forgot what it was like to make my own choices. You will remember, Jake said. It might take time, but you will remember. What if there are other Velathi who survived? Zara asked. What if my people are still out there somewhere? Then we will help you find them, Jake said. If you want to look for them. Zara's eyes lit up. You would do that? Of course, Jake said. Everyone deserves to be with their family. Zara was quiet again. Then she said something that surprised Jake. I can help you too. Help me how? Jake asked. You have pain inside. You, Zara said. Old pain that you try to hide. I can feel it. If you want, I can help make it better. Jake felt uncomfortable. He did not like talking about his feelings. I am fine. No, you are not, Zara said gently. You help others, but you do not let others help you. That is not healthy. Jake thought about this. Zara was right. He had seen many terrible things in his years as a soldier. He had lost friends in battles. He had been forced to make hard choices. That kept him awake at night. But he had never talked to anyone about these things. I do not know, Jake said. I have never tried anything like that before. It does not hurt, Zara said. It is like having someone listen to your troubles, but deeper. I can help you let go of the pain you carry. Jake looked at her. She wanted to help him the same way he had helped her. It seemed fair. Okay, he said, if you want to try. Zara smiled and moved closer to him. She put her hands on his temples gently. Close your eyes and think about something that makes you sad. Jake closed his eyes. Immediately, he thought about his friend Danny, who had died in a battle 2 years ago. Jake had been the one to send Danny on the mission that got him killed. He had never forgiven himself for that. Zara's hands felt warm on his skin. I can feel your sadness, she said softly. You blame yourself for your friend's death. I sent him on that mission, Jake said. If I had not done that, he would still be alive. But you did not know what would happen, Zara said. You were trying to do your job. Your friend knew the risks. He chose to go. Jake felt something strange happening in his mind. The heavy feeling he carried about Danny was getting lighter. The guilt was not completely gone, but it was not as strong as before. How do you feel? Zara asked, taking her hands away. Jake opened his eyes. He felt different, better, like a weight had been lifted from his shoulders. That was amazing, he said. How did you do that? I helped you see the truth instead of the lies you tell yourself, Zara said. You are not responsible for every bad thing that happens to people around you. Jake nodded. For the first time in 2 years, he felt like he could breathe properly. Thank you, he said. That really helped. You helped me first, Zara said. This is what friends do. They help each other. Friends. Jake liked the sound of that word. He had not had many real friends in his life. Most people he knew were either soldiers he worked with or people he had to protect. But Zara was different. She was someone he cared about, just because he liked her as a person. Yes, Jake said. Friends help each other. The next few days passed. Quickly, Jake and Zara talked about many things. She told him about her world before the slavers came. It sounded like a beautiful place with green fields and purple mountains. Jake told her about Earth and about humans. He explained that not all humans were soldiers. Many were farmers, teachers, doctors, and artists. Zara was fascinated by human culture. She had never heard of things like music concerts or art museums. She wanted to see everything when they reached Earth. Will other humans accept me? She asked one day. Some will, Jake said honestly. Others might be afraid because you are different. But the good ones will see that you are a good person. What? About my powers? Zara asked. Will they want me to use them? Only if you want to, Jake said. No one can force you to do anything anymore. You are free to say no. Zara smiled. I think I would like to help people who are hurt. Not hurt people, but help them feel better. I think you would be very good at that, Jake said. As they got closer to human space, Jake started to worry about other things. He had spent a lot of military money to buy Zara. He had also left his mission without completing it. His bosses would not be happy about either of these things. But when Jake looked at Zara, he knew he had made the right choice. She was safe. Now she was free. She had a chance to build a new life. That was worth any trouble he might get into. Zara seemed to sense his worry. You are afraid, she said. A little, Jake admitted. I broke some rules to save you. There might be consequences. I am sorry, Zara said. I did not want to cause trouble for you. You did not cause trouble, Jake said. I chose to help you. I would make the same choice again. Zara smiled and took his hand. Then we will face whatever comes together, as friends. Jake squeezed her hand. As friends? He agreed. Outside the window, Jake could see the edge of human space. They were almost home. Soon, they would find out what the future held for both of them. Jake's peaceful journey with Zara did not last long. On their 7th day of travel, alarms started ringing in the Starfire. Jake ran to the control room and checked his sensors. 3 ships were following them and getting closer fast. What is wrong? Zara asked, running in behind him. She could feel Jake's sudden fear and worry. We are being followed, Jake said, working quickly at his controls. 3 ships. They are faster than us. Zara's face went pale. Are they coming for me? Jake looked at her with sad eyes. Probably. Word must have gotten out about what really happened at the station. Zara started to shake. I cannot go back, Jake. I cannot be a slave again. I would rather die. That is not going to happen, Jake said firmly. I will not let them take you. Jake tried to make his ship go faster, but the other ships were still catching up. He could see them now on his screen. They were big, ugly ships with lots of weapons. Jake's ship was smaller and had fewer guns, but it was more agile. Jake, Zara said quietly, I can feel them, the people in those ships. They are very angry and very greedy. They want to hurt us. How many are there? Jake asked. Zara closed her eyes and concentrated. Maybe 20 people total. Most of them are Saurian mercenaries. They are being paid a lot of money to bring us back. Jake knew about Saurians. They were lizard-like aliens who were very good fighters. They sold their services to anyone who paid enough. They did not care about right or wrong, only about money. Can you tell if Grex is with them? Jake asked. No, Zara said. But someone is paying them a huge amount. More money than Zia. Most people see in their whole lives. Jake was not surprised. Zara was probably worth a fortune to the right buyer. Her powers were too valuable for the slave traders to just let her go. The communication system beeped. One of the following ships was trying to talk to them. Answer it, Zara said. Maybe we can reason with them. Jake shook his head. These are not reasonable people. But okay, let us see what they want. He pressed a button, and a scary face appeared on the screen. It was a Saurian with green scales and yellow eyes. Sharp teeth filled his mouth. Human, the Saurian said in rough English. You have something that belongs to our employer. Give us the Velothi girl, and we will let you live. She does not belong to anyone, Jake said. She is a free person. The Saurian laughed. It sounded like rocks grinding together. Nothing is ever truly free, human. Everything has a price. Our employer is willing to pay us 50,000 credits to bring the girl back alive. But if we have to take her from your dead body, we still get paid. Then you will have to kill me, Jake said, because I am not giving her up. So be it, the Saurian said, and cut off the communication. Jake immediately started flying his ship in a zigzag pattern. A moment later, red energy beams shot past them. The mercenaries were shooting to kill. Hold on, Jake shouted as he spun the ship to the left. More energy beams missed them by inches. Zara strapped herself into a chair. She was scared, but she trusted Jake to protect them. She could feel his determination and skill as he flew the ship. Jake flew toward a nearby asteroid field. The big rocks floating in space would give them places to hide and make it harder for the bigger ships to follow them. Smart thinking, one of the Saurians said over the radio. But we know these asteroid fields well. You cannot hide from us for long." Jake did not answer. He was too busy flying between the asteroids. Some of them were as big as buildings. Others were small enough to bounce off his ship's shields. He had to be very careful not to crash into them. The 3 mercenary ships followed them into the asteroid field. They were having a harder time flying between the rocks because their ships were bigger and less agile. For a while, it looked like Jake's plan was working. He managed to stay ahead of the mercenaries and even lost one of them when it had to stop to avoid hitting a huge asteroid. But then Jake made a mistake. He took a wrong turn and flew into a dead end. There were asteroids all around them and nowhere to go. The 2 remaining mercenary ships caught up and blocked their escape route. "End of the line, human," the Saurian leader said. "Come out with your hands up and the girl unharmed, and we might let you live." Jake looked around desperately. There had to be a way out. Then he saw it. There was a small gap between 2 asteroids. It was barely big enough for his ship to fit through, but the bigger mercenary ships could not follow. "Zara, this is going to be rough," Jake said. "We are going to try to squeeze through that gap." Zara looked where he was pointing. The gap looked impossibly small. "Are you sure we can make it?" "We have to try," Jake said. "It is our only chance." Jake flew toward the gap as fast as he dared. Behind them, both mercenary ships started shooting. Energy beams lit up the space around them. Some hit the asteroids and sent chunks of rock flying everywhere. "Almost there," Jake said through gritted teeth. He had to fly perfectly straight, or they would crash into the rocks. They were 10 feet from the gap when a lucky shot from one of the mercenary ships hit the Starfire's engine. Alarms started ringing, and the ship shook violently. "We are hit," Jake shouted. "I am losing power." The ship was slowing down. They were not going to make it through the gap. Worse, the damaged engine was starting to catch fire. If it exploded, they would both die. "Jake!" Zara screamed as another energy beam barely missed them. Without thinking, Jake threw himself over Zara to protect her from the explosion he was sure was coming. At that same moment, the largest piece of the damaged engine broke free and flew toward them. The metal piece hit Jake in the back with tremendous force. He screamed in pain and fell to the floor. Blood started pooling underneath him. "Jake!" Zara dropped to her knees beside him. She could feel his pain like it was her own. It was terrible and getting worse fast. Jake was hurt very badly. The metal had cut deep into his back, and he was losing a lot of blood. His face was pale, and his breathing was shallow. "I am sorry, Zara," Jake whispered. His voice was getting weaker. "I tried to protect you." "Do not talk like that," Zara said, tears streaming down her face. "You are going to be okay." But Jake was not okay. Zara could feel his life force getting weaker. He was dying, and it was because he had tried to save her. Outside, the mercenary ships were getting closer. They would be here in minutes. When they arrived, they would take Zara back to a life of slavery and torture. Jake would either be dead or left to die, alone in space. Zara made a decision. She had spent years having her powers used to hurt people. Now she was going to use them to help someone for the first time in a long time. She placed her hands on Jake's back where he was hurt. Immediately, she felt his pain flooding into her body. It was like being struck by lightning. She wanted to scream, but she held it in. "What are you doing?" Jake asked weakly. "Saving you," Zara said, "like you saved me." Zara had never tried to heal physical injuries before. She had only worked with emotional pain. But the principles were the same. She had to take Jake's injury into herself and then push it out of both of them. The process was incredibly painful. Zara felt like her back was being torn apart. But slowly, Jake's wounds started to close. The bleeding stopped and his breathing got stronger. Zara, stop, Jake said. You are hurting yourself. I can handle it, Zara said, but her voice was strained. Taking on Jake's injury was almost more than she could bear. Finally, Jake's wound was completely healed. There was not even a scar, but the effort had drained all of Zara's energy. She collapsed beside him, barely conscious. Jake sat up, feeling completely better. He could not believe what Zara had done. You saved my life, he said. You saved mine. First, Zara whispered. Friends help each other, remember? Jake helped Zara to her feet. She was weak, but not seriously hurt. The healing had taken a lot out of her, but she would recover. We still have a problem, Jake said, looking at his controls. The mercenary ships were almost on top of them, and their engine was still damaged. But then something unexpected happened. The asteroid they were hiding behind started to move. Jake realized it was not an asteroid at all. It was a huge space station that had been powered down and floating. Dark in space. Suddenly, the station came to life. Lights turned on all over its surface. Weapon ports opened and big guns came out. A voice spoke over the radio in perfect English. Unknown ships, you are in violation of neutral space laws. Cease your aggressive actions immediately, or face the consequences. The Saurian leader answered angrily. This is none of your business. We are pursuing criminals. We see no criminals here, the station replied. We see a small civilian ship being attacked by armed mercenaries. You have 10 seconds to withdraw, or we will open fire. The Saurians were tough, but they were not stupid. The space station was enormous and had enough weapons to destroy all 3 of their ships easily. After a moment of silence, the Saurian leader spoke again. This is not over, human. We will find you again. The 3 mercenary ships turned around and flew away quickly. They did not want to fight the space station. Jake and Zara watched them go with relief. They were safe for now. Thank you, Jake said over the radio to the station. You saved our lives. You are welcome, the station replied. Please dock at Bay 7. We need to talk. Jake was nervous about docking with an unknown station, but they did not have much choice. Their engine was damaged, and they needed repairs. Plus, whoever was running the station had just saved them from the mercenaries. As they flew toward the docking bay, Zara asked, Can you feel anything from the people on that station? Zara concentrated for a moment. Yes, she said. There are humans on board, and they feel ... familiar somehow. Jake raised an eyebrow. Familiar how? I do not know, Zara said. But they do not feel dangerous. They feel like they want to help us. Jake hoped she was right. They docked the Starfire in the bay and waited to see who would meet them. A few minutes later, the airlock opened and 3 people came aboard. They were all human, which surprised Jake. What were humans doing in a secret space station in the middle of nowhere? The leader was a woman with gray hair and kind eyes. She wore a uniform that Jake did not recognize. Captain Morrison, she said. My name is Admiral Lisa Carter. We have been looking for you. Jake was confused. Looking for me? Why? Because of your mission to Kepler Station, Admiral Carter said. We have been monitoring the slave trade situation for months. When you disappeared with valuable intelligence and a rescued slave, we started tracking you. Jake relaxed a little. These people were on his side. This is Zara, he said. She was being held as a slave. I could not leave her there. Admiral. Carter looked at Zara with sympathy. You did the right thing, Captain. No one should be a slave. What is this place? Jake asked, looking around at the station through the window. This is Freedom Station, Admiral Carter explained. It is a secret base where we coordinate efforts to fight slavery throughout the galaxy. We have been working with other species who believe in freedom and justice. Jake was amazed. He had thought humans were alone in their fight against slavery. It was good to know that others felt the same way. The intelligence you gathered at Kepler Station is very valuable, Admiral Carter continued. But we need more information. The slave trade is bigger and more organized than we thought. How can we help? Jake asked. Admiral Carter smiled. Actually, we were hoping Zara might be willing to help us. Her abilities could be very useful in identifying slave traders and rescuing other victims. Zara looked uncertain. I do not know if I am strong enough. What happened today drained me completely. You will get stronger with practice, Admiral Carter said. And you would never be alone. We have teams of people who work together to help slaves and stop traffickers. Jake looked at Zara. It is your choice, he said. Whatever you decide, I will support you. Zara thought for a long moment. Finally, she spoke. I spent years being forced to use my powers to hurt people. Maybe it is time I use them to help people instead. Admiral Carter nodded. We would be honored to have you join us. As they talked about plans to fight the slave trade, Jake realized that this was not the end of their adventure. It was just the beginning. He and Zara had found their purpose, to make sure no one else would suffer like she had. The mercenaries might come back someday. Other enemies would try to stop them. But Jake and Zara would face them together, as friends and as partners in the fight for freedom. 2 months later, Jake and Zara stood on the observation deck of a human space station orbiting Earth. Zara pressed her face against the window, staring at the blue and green planet below them. She had never seen anything so beautiful. It looks peaceful, she said softly. It is mostly, Jake replied. There are still problems, but nothing like what you went through. They had spent the last 2 months working with Admiral Carter and her team at Freedom Station. Zara had used her abilities to help identify slave traders and rescue other victims. Jake had led several missions to free enslaved beings from different worlds. Working together, they had shut down 3 major slave operations and rescued over 100 people. But the biggest discovery came when Zara sensed something familiar during one of their missions. Jake, Admiral Carter called from across the room. We have news. Jake and Zara walked over to where the Admiral was standing with a group of other humans. They all looked excited about something. What is it? Jake asked. The rescue mission to the Centauri system was successful, Admiral Carter said with a big smile. We found them. Zara's purple eyes went wide. You mean ... Yes, Admiral Carter said. We found other Vilethi survivors. 43 of them, including some of your extended family. Zara started crying, but these were happy tears. For years, she had thought she was the only one of her people left alive. Finding out that others had survived was the best news she could imagine. Where are they? Zara asked. They are on their way here, Admiral Carter said. They should arrive in a few days. Jake put his arm around Zara's shoulders. He could feel how happy and excited she was. After everything she had been through, she deserved this moment of joy. There is more news, Admiral Carter continued. The information you two gathered has helped us plan a major operation. Next week, we are going to attack the main slave trading hub in the Vega system. If we succeed, we will deal a serious blow to the entire slave trade network. Jake nodded. When do we leave? Admiral Carter looked surprised. You are not going. Captain, neither of you are. Why not? Zara asked. We can help. You have done enough, Admiral Carter said kindly. Both of you have risked your lives many times over the past 2 months. It is time for you to rest and think about your future. Jake wanted to argue, but he knew the Admiral was right. He was tired of fighting and running from danger. More importantly, Zara needed time to heal and be with her people. What will happen to us? Zara asked. That is up to you, Admiral Carter said. The human government has offered citizenship to all the Velothi refugees. You can stay on Earth and build new lives here. Or, if you prefer, we can help you find a new world to colonize and rebuild your civilization. Jake and Zara looked at each other. They had talked about this many times during their missions. What would they do when the fighting was over? I would like to stay on Earth for a while, Zara said. I want to learn more about human culture, and I want to use my healing abilities to help people who have been hurt like I was. That can be arranged, Admiral Carter said. We have many programs to help trauma victims. Your abilities would be very valuable in that work. What about you, Jake? Zara asked. What do you want to do? Jake had been thinking about this question. For weeks, his military career was probably over. He had broken too many rules and disobeyed too many orders to go back to his old life. But maybe that was okay. Maybe it was time for something new. I want to help people too, Jake said. Maybe we could work together. Set up some kind of center to help rescued slaves and other trauma victims. Zara's face lit up with excitement. That would be wonderful, Admiral Carter smiled. I think that sounds like an excellent idea. A government would probably be willing to provide funding for such a program. Over the next few days, everything moved very fast. The Velothi survivors arrived on Earth, and there was a joyful reunion. Zara cried when she saw her aunt and two cousins who had survived the attack on their world. They cried too, having thought Zara was dead. The other Velothi were amazed by Zara's story. They could hardly believe that a human had risked everything to save her. It changed their opinion of humans completely. Jake watched the reunion from a distance, not wanting to interrupt the family moment. But Zara found him and brought him over to meet her relatives. This is Jake, she said proudly, the human who saved me. Zara's aunt, whose name was Nira, looked at Jake with gratitude. Thank you, she said in careful English. You gave us back our daughter. She saved me too, Jake said. In ways I am still figuring out. The Velothi survivors decided to split up. Some wanted to stay on Earth and integrate into human society. Others wanted to find a new world and rebuild their civilization. Zara chose to stay on Earth, at least for now. Jake resigned from the military officially. To his surprise, instead of being court-martialed for his actions, he was given a medal for bravery and humanitarian service. The government recognized that his mission had led to major breakthroughs in fighting the slave trade. Months after their first meeting on Kepler Station, Jake and Zara opened their trauma recovery center in a quiet city on Earth. The building was small but comfortable, with large windows that let in lots of natural light. Their first patients were former slaves from many different worlds. Humans who had been captured by alien raiders. Aliens who had been enslaved by their own people or by others. All of them carried deep emotional scars from their experiences. Zara used her empathic abilities to help them process their trauma and let go of their pain. Jake used his training and experience to help them learn practical skills for building new lives. Together, they created a safe space where healing could happen. Word about their work spread quickly. Soon they had more patients than they could handle. The government provided additional funding to expand their operation. Other Velothi survivors came to help, using their natural healing abilities to assist more people. One day, while Jake was teaching a group of former slaves how to use computers, Zara came to find him. She looked excited about something. Jake, you need to see this, she said, leading him to the main office. On the desk was a communication from Admiral Carter. The message was short but important. Major slave trading network destroyed. Vega operation complete success. Over 500 beings rescued. Thank you for making this possible. Jake and Zara looked at each other and smiled. Their work at Kepler Station had led to the rescue of hundreds of people. It felt good to know that their sacrifice had made such a big difference. "We did good," Jake said, double quotes. "Yes, we did," Zara agreed. "But our work is not finished." She was right. Every day, new patients came to their center. Every day, they heard stories of suffering and helped people find their way back to hope. It was hard work, but it was also rewarding. Jake had found his purpose. For years, he had been a soldier fighting against enemies. Now he was a healer, fighting against pain and despair. It was a much better way to use his skills. Zara had also found her purpose. Instead of being forced to use her powers to hurt people, she now used them to help people heal. She was no longer a victim. She was a survivor who helped other survivors. As time passed, their friendship grew even stronger. They trusted each other completely and worked together like they had known each other for years. They were partners in every way that mattered. Sometimes, when they were working late in the evening, they would stand by the window and look up at the stars. Out there somewhere, the fight against slavery continued. Other teams were rescuing victims and shutting down trafficking operations. But here on Earth, in their small center, Jake and Zara were fighting a different kind of battle. They were fighting to help people remember what it felt like to be free. They were fighting to prove that no matter how much someone had been hurt, they could still heal and build a new life. One evening, as they watched the sunset through their office window, Zara said something that surprised Jake. "Do you ever regret it? Saving me instead of completing your original mission?" Jake looked at her with amazement. "Never," he said without hesitation. "Saving you was the best thing I have ever done, even though it changed your whole life." Zara asked. "Especially because it changed my whole life," Jake said. "Before I met you, I was just a soldier following orders. Now I am someone who makes a real difference in people's lives." Zara smiled. "I feel the same way. Before you saved me, I had given up hope. I thought I would be a slave forever. Now I know that no matter how dark things get, there is always a chance for something better." They stood in comfortable silence, watching the stars come out one by one. Tomorrow would bring new challenges and new people to help. But tonight, they could rest knowing that they had found their place in the universe. Jake Morrison had started as a military captain on a secret mission. Zara had started as a terrified slave girl who thought she would never be free. Now they were partners in hope, proving every day that even the darkest situations could lead to something beautiful. Their story had become legend throughout human space and beyond. It was told as proof that humans were not the savage monsters many aliens believed them to be. Instead, it showed that humans were capable of great compassion and willing to sacrifice for others. But for Jake and Zara, it was not about being heroes or legends. It was about two friends who had saved each other and now worked together to save others. It was about the simple truth that everyone deserved to be free, and that sometimes it only takes one person willing to stand up and do the right thing. To change everything. As the stars grew brighter in the darkening sky, Jake and Zara made a silent promise to continue their work for as long as they were needed. There would always be people who needed healing. There would always be victims who needed to remember how to hope. And there would always be Jake and Zara, standing together against the darkness, proving that friendship and compassion were the most powerful forces in the universe.